Africa Digest. It is 30 minutes after 7 o'clock. South Africa's workplace skills plan and annual training report submission deadline is drawing closer. Employers are encouraged to make their skills development submission as soon as possible because unlike the previous year, there will not be an automatic extension, as according to skills development and employment equity specialist Teboho Motsoane of Strata-G Labour Solutions. Failing to meet the submission deadline could have adverse effects on a company's broad-based Black economic empowerment scorecard. To discuss this, Teboho joins us now on the line. Teboho, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Africa Digest.
Good evening, Sakana. Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you here. Let's talk about the workplace skills plan and annual training report, Teboho, and really what it encompasses.
So I think it's quite important for us to maybe put things into a bit of context. So even pre-COVID, as a country, we were very much plagued with unemployment, which of course resulted in poverty and increased lines of inequality. Now the entire situation is basically being accentuated by COVID, even where employers are basically prioritizing where and how to spend their money. And of course, skills development does then become one of the least priorities. So encompassing the workplace skills plan and the submissions, I think it's quite important for employers to be cognizant of the fact that the organization's livelihood and the backbone basically lies with its employees. And that is why it's basically, one could say, it's every employer's obligation to upskill and develop, their employees, of course, with an aim to extend the knowledge and competencies of the labor force, to improve productivity, increase employment in one way or another, and of course, eradicate inequality in society. So one of the major things that the Workplace Skills Plan is basically governed by the Skills Development Act and the Skills Development Levies Act. And being in the nature of this industry, we've noticed that there's a lot of ignorance pertaining to employers in terms of what the benefits of compliance are and how they can actually capitalize on these benefits. So,
now, Teboho, in terms of, not just capitalizing on the benefits, of course, but let's talk a little bit about failing to submit a skills development plan and how it affects a company's broad-based Black BBBEE scorecard.
So every employer that has a payroll of more than 500,000 Rand needs to pay levies through to SARS. Failing which, of course, may result in penalties that one might incur from SARS. But over and above that, for employers that, of course, do maybe generate additional income from the BBBEE scorecard, it would basically mean that they would not have access to, for example, being rated on the skills development element, which forms part of the priority as well. It is a priority element under the BEE code. But over and above that, they actually would not be able to, one would say, get one or some form or other form of reimbursement, which can be up to 20% of their levies that they're paying through to SARS.
And in terms of the importance of having skills development programs within organizations, let's talk a little bit about that and what that can do for future generations.
So I think what I mentioned, the most critical part is, of course, in terms of upskilling not only your labor force, but the Act does, of course, give incentives to employers to basically upskill unemployed youth. And over and above that, there are also various incentives that have been put into place, specifically for the implementation of learnership, where there are substantial tax allowances, as well as the employment of youth, where there are additional incentives that employers can then capitalize on. So in that way, not only are you then get one way or another of generating a budget, where you are then actually able to now focus on upskilling, one would say, the youth and your employees overall.
And for those who are listening and who may not have, who may have missed the dates, etc., when is the closing date for submissions, and how can people get more information beyond our chat here tonight?
So the closing date is an annual date of the 30th of April. Over and above that, the process can become somewhat daunting and complex. Therefore, it may be advisable for companies to have a subject matter expert, such as one or services that Strata-G would basically offer, to basically run with the process and to ensure that the applicable processes are basically being put into play for them to actually be able to claim and do their actual workplace skill submissions.
Well, Teboho, thank you so much for making the time to outline all of this to us this evening. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
That was Teboho Motsoane, Skills Development and Employment Equity Specialist at South African organization which specializes in labor solutions for medium-large organization Strata-G.